Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. Today, we are going to go over what on earth has just happened. The Sunday close, the price came crashing down. We're going to go over that today. We're going to go over what Cathie Wood has to say. We're going to go over Vitalik. We're going to go over Celsius, some news on XRP, a scam, and then we're going to finish with, as always, the quiz. Now, I'm going to admit to you today, Monday is never the best day for news. We have a weekend. Saturday and Sunday is a very, very dry news day. So it did take a couple of hours to put this together. I'm going to admit that. It took a very long time because there really isn't a lot happening over the weekend. Everything is ETF, ETF, ETF. There's very little news coming out. We do have some projects that we're making videos on, but of course those videos are about projects that are not listed on the exchanges that you're watching on today, so we're not going to talk about them on the stream. What we are going to do though is we're going to do some shout outs, and a big good morning to Kishan, to Mags, to Hidden Agendas and TMWB, and we all know who you are, so big shout out to you. And remember, we do drop boxes throughout the stream. Good morning, 3E. I hope you are well. Remember, Solo Sky's in chat. Good morning, Solo Sky. Remember, if you have any questions, try and ask them in chat a couple of times, and I should be able to catch them. I should be able to see them, should I say. There's a lot of spam going on at the minute, which we're trying to resolve, and if you type it a couple of times, we will be able to see it. I do have a few different screens up, so I can keep an eye on you all. But the first thing we need to do is let's go and look at this car crash, which is the crypto market today is down. I don't even think the market cap has updated yet. The 24-hour volume, remember it's a Monday, Sunday and Saturday, the volume is always very low. So the volume is very low. Bitcoin dominance has fallen below 50% and hasn't recovered since. ETH dominance has moved up, and again, that is fairly static. And as you can see from the price of Bitcoin, we lost 40,740. We're going to go over the Bitcoin chart in a little bit when we talk about Cathie Wood and what she expects from the markets. X payments is exciting. We are going to look at the Dogecoin chart as well, give you some targets for that, where I think we could go with Dogecoin. And the only other one we're going to look at today is XRP. We're going to look at the XRP price prediction. Should you be shorting? Should you be longing? Should you be accumulating at these prices? We're going to let you know. So Bitcoin is struggling. Everything is struggling today. We don't have many gainers, put it that way. And unlike Gloria, I don't think that we're all going to survive this. There's a few coins up, a few percentage points today. But if we go to the losers, you can see it's a bit of a red day. So Say is down, Chills is down, Bonk, BitTorrent, Blur, Mina, Terra Classic. There's a few down. But remember, the most important thing about this is that we spoke a few weeks ago and we said nothing can go up forever. Similarly, nothing can go down forever. We cannot keep having red week after red week after red week for the next 2 years. It's not possible. So these corrections are going to happen. We don't like them. I certainly don't like them. I don't think we should be correcting from the price we were at. I think we should be correcting from a higher price, but there we go. And, these are, we're in January. Consider these the January sales. Are there tokens that are now down in the price range that you want to look at? And we'll go over where I think those price ranges are in a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we are going to talk about Cathie Wood. Cathie Wood has come out and has been preaching, waxing lyrical about crypto, about Bitcoin. She believes that the halving will redefine the crypto market. We totally agree with her. It always done. It has done for the last 3-4 cycles in the past. There's no reason for that not to continue. Let's see. Here we go. Let me make this just a little bit bigger for you to see. There we go. In a recent video interview with Yassine El Manja, ARK Invest Director of Digital Assets, Wood unveiled a rarely discussed detail of Bitcoin's next halving event that could change the game for the cryptocurrency market. The rate of growth in supply is going to be cut in half to just under 1% per year. If you compare this to gold, the gold supply has increased on average roughly 1% per year. Bitcoin's supply growth is going to drop below that. Well, that's the first I've heard of this. That's the first I've heard it, and it's a good comparison as well. Why is this insight so important? It goes back to the famous notion of prices in a free market reflecting the balance between supply and demand. Gold is traditionally seen as great value storage due to its limited supply and fairly slow rate of new production. But now, for the first time, Bitcoin's supply will drop below the inflation price of gold. Now, again, everybody compares Bitcoin to gold. Bitcoin isn't gold. Bitcoin is Bitcoin and gold is gold. You can use gold to make jewelry. You can't make Bitcoin. You can't make jewelry out of Bitcoin. Similarly, you can't send gold at the speed of light from Turkey to Bosnia. It doesn't work that way. So they're two separate assets. They are aligned at the fact that they are a store of value, and they are aligned that they are scarce. Unless you happen to be living, is it Gambia? Or somewhere where they have just found $1.4 trillion worth of gold seam buried underground. So I am sure at some point in the future, America is going to go and help them out with their democracy over there. So the self-styled open source peer-to-peer money, or digital gold, finally plays the part for which it was designed. That sounds like a game-changing event. So the limited supply, as we know, and again, if you watch this channel, you'll know some of the quiz questions are in here. There are only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. We've got 19.6 million Bitcoin already in circulation. There's only going to be 1.4 million new Bitcoin created over the next 100 years. Put that into context. We've had 19.6 million in the last 14 years. It's going to take 100 years or 96 years, whatever it might be, to mine the last 1.4 million. So we've pretty much got all the Bitcoin that we're ever going to see. Unlike gold, and you will find a new gold seam, new source of gold, wherever it might be. Gold is on asteroids, maybe we'll start harvesting asteroids, whatever. So gold is scarce, but not finite. Bitcoin is scarce and finite. There are more people hedging their bets now on Bitcoin than ever before. And that's a good reason why. Good morning, Chevon. Welcome to the stream. So what is going to be the impact of this? Now, I made a video, a members only video, explaining what has happened in the previous halvings, just to give you some idea. And this covers it very well. So you don't need to see the Bitcoin halving video. Bitcoin was worth $12 in 2012. 1 year later, it was $1,170. Forget backing down again. That's when the bear market comes on board. 2016, we went from $640 to $19,650. This previous one took us from $8,600 to $67,500. Now remember, what's very important, I stress this all the time, you have to see the market cap of a company, of a commodity, or whatever it might be, to understand that it takes more and more money to move Bitcoin. Moving it from $12 to $1,170 took far less than it did to move it from 8,600 to 67,500 because the market cap was so much higher. This time again, the market cap is so much higher. We're at an $800 billion market cap. We were nowhere near that in the previous halving. So don't look at this, try and work out an average increase and then apply that to the price of Bitcoin, because you're going to end up at a $500,000 Bitcoin. Now, that might, conservatively, you should be looking at $110,000 to maybe $200,000. That should be the price of Bitcoin by the next market top. But of course, everything changes. I was watching Ben Cowan a few days ago, and he was talking about the fact that The price of Bitcoin would have done this if this hadn't happened. He was talking about the pandemic. We had the pandemic, which caused a spike below the bull market support band, and that was potentially the reason why 4 years ago. This year, we could potentially come back down to the bull market support band. Are we going to blame the ETFs for that? Because it's happened every 4 years. So it could be a coincidence, it could be numerology, it could be in the stars, whatever it is, but we do operate on cycles. Everything in the world, everything in the universe operates on cycles. Maybe these events just coincide, but I do think that over the very near term, we're going to see a six-figure Bitcoin, whether that be 105,000 in a year's time, whether that be $200,000 by December next year, whatever it might be, we are going to see a six-figure Bitcoin. It's written into the code. The halving slashes the supply in half every single cycle, every single 4 years cycle. We see the amount of Bitcoin produced halved. Now the effect is less and less each time. Now this time we're going from 6.25 to 3.125. Next cycle it will go down to 1.575, whatever it works out as. So the effect reduces over time, and that has to be understood. That's why a lot of people call this the great last bull run, because potentially we're not going to see the percentage gains that we are going to see this cycle. Potentially we're never going to see them again, because the market cap of Bitcoin, if the market cap of Bitcoin is 3 trillion by the end of the next cycle, could we see a 4 or 5 trillion Bitcoin in the next cycle? Yes, we could. Of course we could. But that's only a 30 to 60% growth. So if we do hit let's say we hit $200,000 this cycle, 60% of that is only going to take us to $300,000 plus. So we're not going to see those exponential gains anymore. So I'm very happy that we have people like Cathie Wood on our side, because she speaks to TradFi, she speaks to investors, she educates people on cryptocurrency, and she's not like Michael Saylor. Remember, Michael Saylor is a Bitcoin maxi. Michael Saylor is, it's Bitcoin or the highway. And Cathie Wood, she understands Solana, she understands Ethereum, she understands lots more outside of the there we go. She understands a lot more than just Bitcoin, just Bitcoin, just Bitcoin. So we're gonna have a look at the charts. Now, I drew this last week. We've stayed in it. We've broken down now for 2 consecutive days. So this is probably going to become invalid. Now, one thing I mentioned last week is, what is the worst case scenario for Bitcoin if we have a drawdown? Now, this white line here, which I have drawn, this stands at $37,500. This does coincide, this does coincide with this area here. So we do have previous here. Now, do I think we're going to see 37,500 today? No, I don't think we are. And what we're going to see next week, and as I explained on the show last week, this bull market support band is doing this. So if you see, this is the average price of Bitcoin over a period of time, and it's coming up, and it's going to continue to come up. Now, what I've said is that I think that we are going to retest the bull market support band at about $40,000. So what I think we're going to see is something like this. Test the bull market support band, maybe at the very beginning of February, maybe the very end of January, sometime around then. And then we're going to retouch this area here, break through, and we're going to move up. And we're going to move up towards the halving, because the halving is going to be the next hype cycle. We've had the hype cycle with the ETF, and the hype cycle from the ETF, I mean, don't get me wrong, that was exceedingly good. I mean, we moved all the way up from $26,000 to $48,000 in that hype cycle. We're going to have the next one, which is the halving. Now, we still have 2 full months, February and March, in which to play around. Where I disagree with a few of these crypto influencers is that we've got a never before seen financial instrument in play here, which is the ETFs. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that if we didn't have the ETF, I would expect us to do this over the next few weeks, and because we don't have the buying power of Bitcoin, so we're pre-halving, but we're not close enough to the halving to push the price up. That comes, in my opinion, towards the middle to end of February. Now, I know we're talking about very short timescales here, but as soon as the news, and it's driven by the news. Look at what the news is telling us. So the news articles about Bitcoin and the halving coming up, that will start to hit mainstream press in March. It will hit crypto news in February, maybe middle to end of February. There'll be a countdown, 60 days, 50 days to go, something like that. And that's when the news hype starts, which then drives the new demand for Bitcoin. What we're seeing this time is that we're going to have the ETF demand coupled with the countdown demand. And that's why I think at this stage we could hold here a little longer, because you look at all the metrics. We covered it on Saturday. We're not going to do it again. The ETFs are buying more Bitcoin than are being sold. There are 30,000 less Bitcoin today on the open market than there were when the ETFs began. So the 9, as they're colloquially named, the 9 have taken 30,000 Bitcoin off the table in a week, or a week and 2 days. So we have that demand coupled with the pre-halving demand. We could have a real run at the halving, and like I say, I don't think we're going to come down anytime soon to 37,000. I think we're going to hopefully, and I say hopefully because the way these markets are at the minute, it's very difficult to do price analysis at this stage of the market, because everything's been thrown up in the air with these ETFs, because people are buying and selling their alts to Bitcoin, which is then causing Bitcoin to go into these rallies. They're falling back. We're seeing green wicks, we're seeing red wicks. It's just an entire mess. It was way more predictable for this entire period here. All of this was way more predictable than where we are now. And the reason being is that more Bitcoin is being bought than ever before, but it's being counteracted by the Grayscale and Vanguard problem. And that's why we're stuck. I do think we're going to be here, and then we might come down, retest at 40,000, and then shoot up. I do think that's what's going to happen. I'm not going to give up on this at the minute. I'm going to hold on to it. But like I say, if you want a worst case scenario, 37,300 for me, even down to maybe 35,500. But that area there, that's my worst case scenario. And again, if we see this now, it's only going to propel us up, because remember what we talk about with the bull market support band, it bounces off the bull market support band. That's the point of it. So it comes up, it tests it, and then it bounces up. So that's what tends to happen. And then we had a little bit of a wobble here, and then we came higher. So it's not a bad thing to come down, because coming down, we gather the liquidity, we can then start to push the price up. So if we do something like this, I think we'd all be happy. So let's see. I'm fairly confident. I've still not changed my bullish stance on Bitcoin. I still think we're going to see 48 to 50,000. I've been saying it for weeks. We're going to see that sooner rather than later. If it's February, it's February. If it's March, it's March. But we are going to see it. Now, this was huge news on Twitter, or X as we're now calling it, over the weekend. And that is that X has launched its own dedicated payments account. So I think it's just called Payments. There. So this went live on, I can't remember if it's Saturday or Sunday. And of course, everybody out there is expecting Elon Musk to announce his payments platform in Q1. Q1, we've got February and March left. So in the next 8 weeks, we should see Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, we should see it start to offer some kind of payment system. Tipping, Facebook Marketplace, whatever it might be, eBay competitor. He wants to create an all-in-one app like WeChat. So this is not one of these ones where it could be a false dawn. There is no smoke without fire. This is an official account that's been created. Now, this area here, where he talks about it's unconfirmed whether the feature will support payments beyond traditional fiat currencies. In the code, there is, because one thing that Elon Musk did when he created Twitter was he made all of the code for Twitter public. You could go in, you could look at the algorithms, you could go and test it, you could go and see how it all works. And recent updates have shown you a set of code which shows you that there is a cryptocurrency option, and currently it's called X. Now, that's clearly a joke. There's not going to be an X token. We've had that hype. There's not going to be an X token. It's a placeholder for another coin. So, all of these people talking about this, we don't want to see too much about this. And this is what we are interested in. Dogecoin. Dogecoin is so I'm just reading that. Dogecoin is, I think it's the worst kept secret. Elon Musk holds a lot of Doge, as we all know. We think he's the second or third largest holder of Doge. He's bought Doge for his kids. Now, why is this important? Because if Doge is added as the tipping feature on X, this is going to rocket. Now, I was looking at the market cap because, as you know, I like to base things on market caps. And Dogecoin is currently sitting at $11 billion. So there's $11 billion, or let's call it $12 billion token. And the price is currently sitting at 8.2 cents. It's had a bit of a pull-up. As you can see, it's broken out of its bull market support band. It's come up, it's come down, it's bounced around, it's retested, it's retraced. It did reach all the way up to 9 cents. Now, I think Doge is going to fly. Am I going to buy Doge? No, I'm not. I was on a panel about 5 months ago, and the question was, what's your altcoin tip or your meme tip for the next 12 months? And I picked Doge. Of all the coins I could have picked, Solana, whatever, I've picked Doge because of the simple fact that we're going to see a God candle. Now, I don't know where any of my TA has gone that I've done on Doge, but I did do a lot of TA on it, and it's all vanished. There we go. Okay, so for me, Doge has plenty of price targets. Now, again, one thing to bear in mind, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is my opinion and my opinion only. And my opinion is that I think we are going to see a 20 to 30 cent Doge if this was announced tomorrow. I do have way more specific price targets than that. as you can see up here. Let me make that a little bit wider so you can see the price. So Doge for a long time was in this kind of, lower highs, lower lows. It was struggling, it was coming down here. We broke out the same period we broke out for all of the coins. We came back up, we touched 10 cents, we came down, we've now broken out of that. Now, where are we going to go? First of all, we have plenty of history with Doge, all the way up, all the way down. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get to 15 cents. Then we're going to get to 17 cents. 17 cents, 16 cents, 0.8 cents. Plenty of previous on there. And then we come up and possibly touch this next fib level at 25 cents. Now, the reason 25 cents is important is that puts Doge at 36 billion. 36 billion gives it almost the same market cap as Solana. Now, can you see just how ridiculous that is? A meme coin with no inherent value, with no inherent utility, with no real community. You don't see people on X talking about how wonderful Dogecoin is. It's a one-trick pony that's going to 3x to the same price as Solana, which is potentially going to be the third largest layer one. So that's why I'm not buying Doge, because it's hype and it's complete nonsense. It's being printed to infinity. Remember, it's the Bitcoin code, it's proof of work, but it has no maximum supply. And there's millions and millions of them being produced. Millions and millions of them produced. I mean, just look at the total supply so far. What's that? 147 billion, something like that. It's nonsense. Okay. Now, Elon has talked in the past about doing two things. He's talked to the creators of Doge and has asked them to turn it from proof of work to proof of stake. That's one thing. The second thing is, when that happens, look to create a max supply. So cap Doge at 150 billion, for example, and then introduce some kind of burn mechanism and validate a staking reward mechanism, and basically copy what Cardano and Ethereum do. So that's what could change Doge. And remember, this is based on how it is today. This is not based on what it's going to be like in a year's time. So the reason I don't buy Doge is because I don't think it's going to ever get anywhere near the capabilities of Solana. And I don't think Doge is even worth $11 billion today. I think Doge at a push is maybe worth $3 or $4 billion. And I believe that Shiba Inu is quite rightly the top meme coin because it has functionality, it has utility, it has a community. Doge has none of those things. It's a waste of time. It's a tipping feature. But with all that being said, it is going to rip when X payments goes live. Because if it is the tipping feature, I expect it to go up to 36 billion, which would be a 3x from where we are today. That would put it at 25 cents, which coincides very beautifully with that fib level there. And remember what I said before about we all operate in cycles. The universe operates in cycles. The lunar cycle, we have our own cycles, stock markets, Bitcoin has a 4-year cycle. Everything works in cycles. And numbers are very important, and especially Fibonacci. Do I think we could 3x to 25 cents? Absolutely. I am personally not going to buy it because I don't like the project, but I can see it going easily to 25 cents. At this stage of the market, remember, in the bull run, if Solana is at 200 billion, XRP is at 180 billion, if Cardano is at 150 billion, then yes, Doge could get to 100 billion. And yes, Doge could 10x. And yes, Doge could maybe start to look at $1. Maybe. Right? But we're talking about this stage in the market. This stage in the market, there is no way on God's green earth that Doge is going to hit $110 billion and be twice the value of the entire BNB chain. So we have to always look at the market cap, always look at where we are in the market as well. That's important. We are at the beginning of the bull run. Doge, I'm not saying Doge is never going to hit 150 or $200 billion. What I'm saying at this stage in the market, that what's the best Doge could hope for? And in my opinion, it's touching Solana. That's in my opinion. So if you do want to take a punt on it, Doge is not a bad bet. It's a good price to get in now. Look at where we are. What we were saying before about me giving you an idea of where a good place to buy a coin is. The hit zone for me is this red area here. The problem is that with a lot of projects that are not large market caps, buying in here doesn't mean anything because the coin, the coin could quite easily just continue to go down here. So you can't, this isn't cut and dry. This is for projects that you believe are going to be a success. So Doge, what would happen to Doge if it didn't become the tipping feature? Well, what would happen, in my opinion, is the price is going to come back down to here and then rejoin this level here. So I think if it's not added as the tipping feature, we could see a 5-cent Doge, 5.5-cent Doge. So that's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is it absolutely rips up towards 17 cents and then 25 cents. So that's my source if you want on Doge. If you want a tip for a coin, you've got a few spare dollars, you want to go and pick a coin you don't already hold, then for me, take a quick look at Doge, because if he's talking about launching it in Q2, we're in Q1 now. It's going to be announced in Q1. That's going to rip the price of Doge. Don't wait till Q2 to buy it, because by that point it could be at 15 or 17 cents, and then you've lost that additional 100%. So that's where we are with Doge. I would look to buy it at those prices that we're at now. I think it's a decent price. Anything under 10 cents for Doge is good. But remember, if X turns around and it says it's not going to use Doge, it's going to tank. I wouldn't even give that a 1% chance of happening, because we all know Elon Musk wants to integrate a coin, but he wants to integrate a coin that he has some level of control over. And I think he has some level of understanding with the Doge team. Now, Vitalik has been, I mean, again, headlines need to be taken with a pinch of salt. It's not a controversial statement. It's, you know, I watched a couple of videos this weekend where people were putting words into other people's mouths. And I don't know whatever happened to free speech, because these aren't controversial statements. The ones I've read in this article are not controversial statements. Controversial statements are things like, we didn't land on the moon, or why have we tried 5 times to land on the moon and we still can't get it to land sunny side up. They would be controversial statements. Not Vitalik says that companies need to be more open. So Vitalik Buterin believes that large companies should be more open in order to avoid crises like FTX. We know who he is. At the heart of his commentary is the notion of public legitimacy, a principle he suggested both individuals and organizations in the crypto sphere must deeply respect. He reflects on 2 significant crises. His main contention is that the foundational sin in both situations was not merely the controversial actions taken, but the disregard for a transparent and accountable dialogue with the public. Totally agree. Now, let's make this a little bit bigger, can we see? Some lessons people suggested to us then were be really quick to call out deceptive behavior. Well, CZ did that. CZ called out Sam Bankman-Fried. I believe, what was he called? Ben Armstrong did the same thing. He called him out. FTX didn't have a board. I mean, Vitalik is talking about things he doesn't know an awful lot about. This was based in the Bahamas. Irrespective of what you want to do in America or Europe or Asia, Bahamas is one of these locations where you can set up a business and operate from there with a lot fewer laws and regulations. Instead of trying to play 5D utilitarian chess, just try to do the deontologically right thing. I feel my response survived okay. My main critique in both cases respect public legitimacy more. Now, again, I haven't read a single controversial thing in anything that Vitalik has said here. And what you have to understand is that you can replace the word FTX in here with Bear Stearns, with Barclays, with HSBC, with Shell, with BP, with Microsoft. You can replace the name of the company. It's interchangeable. Scandal happens in all major companies. Facebook's had scandal. Twitter's obviously had scandal before and now, in fact, because of how they censor free speech. So there's scandal everywhere. And the difference is between the FTX scandal and maybe the HSBC scandal is HSBC were found out multiple years after the event. FTX were found out in real time and called out in real time by CZ. That is why FTX collapsed. Think of it this way, and I'm not saying this is the right way to think about it. If CZ hadn't have pulled his investment out of FTX, if he hadn't have called them out on Twitter, would FTX have collapsed the way it did? Probably not. You have to remember a big thing about FTX was the collapse is actually smaller than people realize. There was $7 or $8 billion lost. And the guys that have gone in, I can't remember the name of the guys gone in, John somebody the third has gone in, they've already found $7 billion. So they believe they're going to make every single person associated with FTX whole. The flaw of FTX was it was run like a corner shop, not like a business. And that's down to the naivety of Sam Bankman-Fried, the naivety of his girlfriend. Had they had a financial controller in place, had they had a team in place, this would never have happened. So we can call at them all we want. They damaged crypto. They damaged the reputation of the Democrat Party. They did all of these things. But at the end of the day, the reason they collapsed was because they were called out in real time by CZ, which was the right thing to do. But these are not controversial statements. So Vitalik, I watched a video that he produced, when was it? 8 years ago? 9 years ago, when he was talking about Bitcoin. He was talking about what Bitcoin was going to be. He then started to talk about Ethereum, and it was 9 years ago. It was before, most of what we see today existed in terms of like the projects and everything else like that. But one thing that I like, I read a comment the other day, is what's the difference between somebody who's very intelligent and a genius, or no, somebody who's talented and somebody who's a genius? Somebody who is talented can do something that you cannot do. So, for example, Ronaldo can do something you cannot do. He is talented. A genius is doing something that you can't even think about doing. That would be Messi. So Messi is a genius. Ronaldo is talented. Vitalik is a genius. He's not just talented. He can see things that don't exist. He can manifest them. And whether you like him or not, and I'm not a massive fan of him, I don't like him dressing up as Pikachu and doing stupid dances on stage, but he's a genius. So whenever he says things like this, he's not saying it from a place of politics. He's saying it from a place of logic. So it doesn't make it controversial, in my opinion. It's just a fact. But unfortunately, nowadays, facts are seen as controversial. Now, this is to cover an issue which some of you might see in price action in the next few weeks, and that is to do with Celsius. Celsius is a failed lending platform. You would stake your crypto with them and they would pay you a yield, and the yield in most cases was around about the on-chain staking yield that you would get. So they were paying 5 or 6% on Ethereum when Ethereum was paying 5 or 6%. They were paying 8% on Matic when the staking was about 8%. It was a very simple business case. which was ruined yet again by terrible accounting. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is that over the course of the next few weeks, they are going to be selling off Matic tokens, 56.8 million Matic tokens. That is going to bring down the price of Matic to a point where you could see a good entry for Matic. I talked about Matic before, and I've said that the price action of Matic does not reflect the value of the coin. And a little bit similar to Doge in the terms of it's a good price to get it, it's going to go multiples in the bull run because of who they've got. And I'm not going to go over them again, we've covered it time and time again. So Matic, for me, we're seeing this price action now, which is bringing the price down. I don't consider this chart to be solely the fault of this sale. This coincides with the ETF, the Bitcoin ETF. So don't read this as in 56.8 million Polygon being sold is bringing the price down this dramatically. It's not. It's more likely to do with their selling into a market correction. So we know about the collapse of FTX. We know about the collapse of Celsius. I would look at, in the next couple of weeks, DCAing into Matic and getting it at these prices. The price of Matic today is 75 cents. And it's down a whole world of pain from where it was at the start of the year. So it's down from $1, roughly $1, 95 cents. It's down to 75 cents. That's a good price for me. I remember buying Matic for the very first time at 60 cents 3-4 years ago, whenever it was. So it hasn't moved up an awful lot since then, but we are coming out of the bear market. So I expect Matic to be at $3-4, maybe $5 in the next bull run. People predict more. I would be happy with a $5 Matic in the next bull run. Now, we need to get a move on, because yet again we're running out of time. So let's have a quick look. Now, again, I'm just reiterating in these articles what I was saying last week. Just because we now have a Bitcoin ETF, it doesn't mean every top crypto is going to be turned into an ETF. It's just not going to happen. You know, we are probably going to get an Ethereum ETF at some point. I'm not sure it's going to be this year, because Ethereum a commodity. Bitcoin is a commodity. It's mined like oil and gold. It's decentralized. It's produced. It won in a court of law. Well, it didn't win, but the judge found in the favor of Grayscale, which in turn found in the favor of Bitcoin. Ethereum, are we going to have to see another round of court cases before we get the Ethereum ETF? Now, BlackRock, I think, Vanguard, BlackRock and Fidelity and a few others have already submitted their applications for the Ethereum ETF. That is going to take a long time. I think it's going to take a long time. It could happen at the beginning of next year, because we're going to have a new head of the SEC. We might have to wait 12 months for an Ethereum ETF, or Gary might throw his hands in the air and say, you know what, we've lost on Ethereum. We're going to draw the line at Ethereum, and then those two can have ETFs and no more. I don't think he's going to do that, but if he does, great. Then we've got an Ethereum ETF, but I think he's going to draw the line there. Why on earth do we need 50 ETFs? We don't. XRP is a private company. XRP has had Ripple has had its fundraise, its tokens are associated with banks. It's going to be built into the banking system across the world, and it's going to allow cross-border payments, relative ease, very inexpensive, whatever you want to call it. Why does it need an ETF? So There's no plans to launch the Ripple ETF. I could have told you this. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to have a private company's, let's not call them shares, but tokens in a private company, I don't think should become part of an ETF. I think if you have a basket, like for example tech stocks, if you have an ETF that covers Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, whatever, then yes, that should be an ETF because it's a basket. And I think for altcoins, we should have a basket, call it a crypto ETF, and have 10 or 15 approved tokens within that ETF. So you would have a Bitcoin ETF, an Ethereum ETF, and then maybe a crypto ETF where you can have exposure to Cardano, XRP, Solana, BNB, whatever it might be. That makes more sense to me. And it doesn't make sense to say, right, we're going to have Ripple, or we're going to have BNB, or we're going to have Solana. It makes no sense whatsoever. So I don't think the chair, Gary Gensler, is a political liability in the United States, and I think he's not acting in the interests of the citizens in SHIB. He's not acting in the interests of the long-term growth of the economy, and I don't understand it, Garlinghouse said. But I totally agree with him. I don't know about this fall off a cliff, but I do think that XRP needs to win this court case against the SEC. There's two parts to the court case. They've already won the first part. We need to see the fine paid, and then I think we're going to see a pump. So XRP is grappling to maintain its footing at 55 cents. But again, when you look at that, you have to look at where we are in the market. We've had a correction. Now, the one thing I will say is we've got the trend line, which I've shown you 1,000 times, which goes back here. We've held it, and there have been occasions where we have come under this trend line, and we're currently under it right now. Now, it doesn't invalidate it, but this is also slightly concerning. Lower highs. We had this was the victory, I believe. This was them winning the court case against the SEC. And what did it do? Price came straight back down to where it was before and just plodded along. Now, this is a worrying sign, and what we need is a breakout. So what we want to see is this. Maybe go back up towards this area here. Okay, that's what we need to see. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Now they're talking about 35 cents. 35 cents would take us down to, well, I don't think we're going to see 35 cents. That would take us all the way down to here, which would be way back into 2022. I don't think we're going to come down that far. I think, if anything, we'll come down to 48 cents. So if we draw the next line in here, well, hang on, no. That for me would be the price to be buying XRP. Anything around this price. So whether there's a hitbox there, that would be the price to be buying XRP for me, which goes down, to be fair, as far as about 44 cents. But we've broken below the moving average, or bull market support band, what you want to call it. We've broken below. We came up, we tested it, we bounced, we came below, we came back up, and now we've broken down. And now we're down here. So it's not looking good for XRP. I think winning the court case is going to push us back up. And I think that is going to be the next bit of news that's going to save XRP. But if Bitcoin continues to head towards $40,000, then we could see a 45-cent XRP. It's not the end of the world. It's the pre-halving. We've got a year and a half to go. We've got a year and a half to go. And you might say, well, you know, look at where we were. October the 19th, 48 cents. November the 8th, 71 cents. When crypto wants to move like that, it can move. So if we had something like that again, that would put us back up at 75 cents. And that move has happened in 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks' time, we could be retesting this fib level. It can move that quickly. If you're going to accumulate, though, you want to be accumulating down here, not up here. You want to be buying it at the discounted price. And maybe this is the discount before the bull market really kicks in. Let's wait and see. Now, we are not going to do the USI scam because it's really not important. We're going to get on with the quiz. It's 11:50. We've managed to get the show done fairly much on time. So, because of that, we've probably got a little bit of additional time. Right, so first of all, let me get rid of this now. We're going to go and do the quiz. So let's bring up the Bitcoin chart while we do the quiz. First things first, I've not sold you today or asked you today. Can you please like and subscribe to the channel? Press the follow button, press the like button, press all those buttons. That would be greatly appreciated. If you could, that would be amazing. If not, don't worry about it. We stream every day at 11 o'clock. We'll be here tomorrow at 11. We'll be here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 11 o'clock. We're here all week. Just give us a, put us in the calendar of events or whatever you've got on your platform. That would be great. Now, I think it's about time to say goodbye to